Today's lesson is going to be factoring out the GCF. When you're factoring out the GCF, that's a greatest common factor. You're looking for what number will divide into each of the terms. This is the first step always to factoring. You always look for a GCF. The reason for this is it makes your factoring over the next several weeks that we're going to be doing easier. So this is the most important step to learn just to make the process nicer for you for the rest of the lessons. So we're looking for the biggest number that can divide into each of the numbers and the variable with the lowest exponent on it. So like if it's x, you want to make sure you have the x with the lowest exponent as possible. Y, the same y. And so let's look at one. So let's take this first problem. And when we're working through it and we're looking at it, there is, first thing I notice is there are variables in every single one. So since there are variables in every single one, I'll look to see what my variables are. So I have x's. So out of my x's, what is my lowest exponent? And my lowest exponent on all my x's is an x to the first power. Next thing I'm going to look for is all of my y's. So I'm going to look through all my y's. And my lowest exponent on all my y's is y to the second. So now I've looked at my variables and I figured out which of my variables need to come out. Now I'm focusing on the numbers. What number divides into 21, 35, and 42 evenly and is the biggest number that can? That's 7. So that is my greatest common factor. When I'm factoring it out, though, I have to figure out what's left behind. So I have to go, okay, what is 21 x to the fourth, y to the fifth, divided by 7x squared? And so 21 divided by 7 is going to give me a 3. If I take out one x, that leaves me behind an x cubed. If I take out two y's, that leaves me behind y cubed. Now let me go to my second term. My second term is 35, x cubed y squared. So 35 is negative, and since I'm dividing out a positive, it's going to keep its sign. So 35 divided by 7 is 5. I take out 1x, leaving me behind 2. I take out 2 y's, and it leaves me no y's left behind. Now let me go to the next term. My next term is 42xy to the 7th. So if I take out and divide by that 42 divided by 7, that gives me a 6. Now, if I take out one x, that leaves me no x's behind. If I take out two y's, that leaves me a y to the 5th. This right here is my answer. Let's look at another problem. So again, I'm going to start with my variables. I'm going to go through and look at all my x's. And there's not an x there. So what's my lowest x? Well, there is none there, so that means it is no x's that get factored out. Now I'm going to look at my y's the same way. And so my lowest exponent is to the second. So y squared. Now I look at all my numbers. and see what number will divide into all three of those evenly. Well, 25 will go into both the first two, but it won't go into the third, so that's not going to work. 5 will go into all three evenly, because it'll give me a 5, 10, and 9. But when I notice that I have signs where I have more negatives than positives, or my leading variable, my leading term is negative, I will often factor out a negative. And I'm going to do that here as well. And so I'm going to factor out a negative 5. And so when I open up my parenthesis, I have negative 25 divided by negative 5, giving me a positive 5. I'm not taking out any x's, so whatever x's I have, I write down. I am taking out 2 of the y's. So if I have 4 y's, that leaves me behind 2. Y at 50, x squared y cubed. I'm going to take a positive 50 and divide it by 5, and negative 5, and that's going to give me a negative 10. I am not taking out any x's, so they stay the same. I'm taking out 2 y's, so if I have 3, that leaves me behind 1. And then on my next one, I have negative 45 divided by negative 5, giving me a positive 9. I'm not taking out any x's. Well, there's not any x's there. I'm taking out 2 y's, so that means that I'm left with no variables in that last term. That's okay. That is my answer, this whole thing. Watch on the homework tonight. This is a maze, and so when you're doing it, if they factor out a negative, check and see if that's a possibility, and it may change your signs. Because there's a couple of them when they factor out a negative that I would not have factored out that negative. So just be careful in that and look at the signs. The last one we're going to do is there a common variable between all the terms? No. None of them have the same variable. Now, is there a common number that can divide into all three? No. So that means this is a prime answer.